right, so hopefully if you've already watched the intro to pendulum video by now, and if you've messed with this at all, you'll know that it's pretty limited. We can't move this in this direction despite the presence of this non-grayed out thing over here. And we can only rotate these in one direction despite most of them not being grayed out. So what to do? I'm going to take this opportunity to show you how to get hidden attributes back, or to even unlock attributes, where to go looking for them, and be careful about adding these in. I think on the pendulum it's okay. When we get to the human, I'm going to give you a big fat no, don't do that. But when you get rigs like this, anytime you mess with what I'm about to show you, you risk breaking things. So buyer beware. All right, so there are a few different menus that we'll have to bring up at some point. So one of the things we want to look at is under general editors. It is called channel control. So this brings up, and it'll say channel control, pendulum main. If you click on a different one, it'll bring up a different thing. And you will see anything that's here on channel will be over here under keyable. So there's a few different boxes over here. This is all the various attributes that might be visible and keyable on this control. And we have had most of them hidden. For example, visibility, we don't want to mess with that. There is a section of non-keyable displayed, meaning if I put something over here, we can see it, but we can't do anything with it. But we're going to stick with right here for now. So I scrolled all the way to the bottom because there is a translate X just chilling out here. And it's like, oh, I'd like very much to make that keyable so it can, move side to side. And so I'm going to click that and I'm going to say move. Move with this direction to put it over here. And yes, I know that's a little bit confusing because the move to over here button isn't under here, it's over there. It's annoying, but someone without GUI experience made this. I can also scroll up and I can find rotate Y and rotate Z. So I can say move and move, and it will bring them up over here, and then we can see them. Now you'll notice that they are gray. That is because they are locked. So I can right click on those and I can unlock them, or I can go over here to locked and I can find rotate Z and I can say don't lock. And you'll notice with this tab versus this tab that on this tab everything's hidden. Everything's hidden. Very few things are locked, right? Things have been made non-keyable, but they're not technically locked. So lots of things are non-locked. What they did was they locked the ones that they thought you were most likely to make visible. So you can see scale X, Y, and Z are on here. They're still not visible. They have been locked. So just in case you find them somewhere, you don't go messing around with them. And on this one, you can be sure, very important, don't unlock them. All right, the only things you should be unlocking on here are the ones that I tell you about, and even then it's with caution. For the other three joints, I'd say unlockable make keyable things would be just the other rotations. Not rotate pivot, not rotate quaternion, not rotate order, rotate pivot, translate, blah blah blah. No. And not even rotate axis. All the way down, get to all the way to the bottom of the rotates, all the crazy rotates, you'll see the Y and the Z. So if you want to have a little bit more mobility with this, this is where you would find it. And then you can unlock them as well. Now, I say use caution because now suddenly you've gone from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attributes that are keyable and usable and everything to 6, 9. And then there would be 15 when we were done, if my math serves. So that's a lot more. 15 is a lot more than 6. So it's not necessarily better to have all of this stuff unlockable. So rather than me showing everything, I'm going to think to myself, well, what do I need? Right? Like what am I really looking at? And for example, this is an elbow joint. Do we know of any elbow joint that, twists from side to side? I hope not. That's not, this is a humanoid-ish arm, so we want to keep with humanoid-ish things. We could make the shoulder a little bit more flexible, but for me, what I'm missing is in the hand. I want this to be able to like look back and forth. And so on this one, I would go to my rotate Z, I believe. Yes, so X is already done. Y is kind of spinny, but rotate Z is the one that gets it to like rock back and forth. So that one I'm going to bring in. No translates on any of these joints, right? Just that. And then on this one, yeah, I can rotate it like this. I think I also want the ability to rotate it along that axis. Or along the other axes. Like I don't know if I need to translate along the other axis, but the rotate would be nice to have, just to get the whole thing to rotate. So I can grab those and say move. And again, it's just the plain old rotate X or Y or Z that you're adding, not the other rotates. We want to be very careful about that. And so I didn't make everything available that is possible to use, but I did give it this ability. And you can see how there's not as much utility in this as you think, unless something has been moved, right? Unless there is a bend in an elbow, you are not going to see this. Now I can. All right, and I believe nothing will break for making these changes. But the higher up you are in the joint chain, the higher that risk. So if I make a couple changes to this, so that I can do that doesn't really do anything. The chances of this, oh, whoops, careful there. Oh, I'm just not paying attention to what's being rotated where. Ah, interesting. The rotation order they have on this means that it does not behave the way you think. This is why things are locked, folks. This is exactly why things are locked. I want to see something. Oh, you know what? I'll bet I know why. So I left the Y locked because I didn't want to have it available, except it wasn't just unkeyable, it was locked. And it was causing problems. If you lock one of the axes, then the lower axis is going to be stupid. So technically that y-axis has to move a little bit in order for the other thing to move. This comes down to rotation orders. So there are rotation orders set up in the file, and sometimes things work differently, but sometimes you can see when I do Y and Z, all of them move. That has to do with how the rig is set up, and it might do the same thing here. Let's find out. So if I rotate X, only X changes. If I rotate Y, only Y changes. So on this one, you can rotate any one of these axes and it will behave the way you expect. It is not true for this. And I can't entirely tell you why because I did not make this rig. Oh, wait, weird. It's not. Hang on. That should have been. Okay, yeah, it's still doing that. There's underlying math reasons why that's being a little bit funny. So you can get the look that you want, but you will have to key all of these at once. And that means 3 different things in the graph editor to keep track of. And there's really no way to avoid that except to not put any extra rotations in the first place, to not unlock Y and Z, right? Because so long as you don't unlock Y and Z, you can't get all this craziness in here. If you just keep with X, you won't get all the extras in there. And And this probably, again, this has to do with something with how they built the rig. It's probably why they unlocked them. So it gives you that added flexibility to do this, but it's going to be a little bit harder. Notice that if I didn't do any X rotates, this is fine. The problem is, that's when it happens. Which actually means I will bet that this isn't as fine as we think, because if I put a rotation on there, there it is. That's just how it's calculating things. So yeah, it's just food for thought. So I like to give people who like to do a little bit more tech stuff a little bit of an option if they like to unlock things, but you unlock things at your own risk. If you break it, you'll have to redo the work. So a few notes on unlocking things. For one thing, you should absolutely make sure the rig is zeroed out before you do that, which usually will mean just opening the file fresh and having no changes anywhere, 000 on everything. That's your best bet for making sure this can work. I would also, before you make any changes, file, save as, edited pendulum, spelled that wrong. Now you can always go back to the site and get another one, but it's good to make sure you have like a clean one on hand that's fixed, and then you save as and you make one that you tinker with, just in case something goes wrong. All right, so hopefully that gives you a little bit of a window into some of the things that the rigger did in order to, limit you over here and kind of guide you into what works, and also gives you something to tinker with if you would like to give yourself a little bit more room to run.